Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to my studio. This is Paint with Lovejoy. Thanks so much for joining me. If this is your first time here, please subscribe to the channel and check out the other videos. And if you're here for a second, third, or fourth time, thank you so much for coming back and getting creative. Alright guys, it's going to be another fun painting for my beginners, a fun landscape. So grab your supplies, transfer your traceable to your surface, and as always, make sure you take progress photos. Now on mine, you're going to see that I went over my traceable lines with a black Sharpie marker, and that's for those of you at home that are going to pause the video and draw what you see. If you utilize the traceable, you do not have to go over it with the black Sharpie marker. And we're going to be starting with light blue, so that is white with a touch of blue, and it can be a little darker or lighter than what I've put on my canvas. And we're going to be basically filling in that whole sky area above the mountain with this light blue color. Now, if you do have to mix your color 2 or 3 times, don't stress about getting the exact same shade every time. Little diversity in your background is just going to add to the coolness of your painting. So filling in that whole area from the top of the mountain to the top of the canvas, and then adding a bit more blue to that mixture. And you see at the top of the canvas where I went just a touch darker. I want you to do the same thing on yours. And if you're inclined to put that darker blue somewhere else, go right ahead and do that. And then we're going to be moving down into the reflection of the mountain and filling in that light blue space. We'll go a little bit towards the bottom of the canvas, but we're going to be filling this area in with shades of dark blue, or darker shades of blue. So here we went a little bit darker blue with our mixture, kind of close to maybe a darker medium blue, and then we'll go a little bit darker in a moment. So again, if your shades are a little darker or lighter than what I'm using, that's okay. Trust your instincts, and you have full permission if you want to change colors. So here's more of our medium blue for the reflection of the mountain on the water. And I'm still using that large flat brush and these kind of nice horizontal brush strokes just back and forth. If you need to switch down to a smaller brush, go right ahead and do that. And again, I want you to just observe where I'm placing each of these colors on the canvas and mimicking that to the best of your ability. Now, when you have one color come up to another one, I want you to use kind of light pressure to kind of blend the two colors together. And we'll do that a little bit more as we get into here. We're putting the white on. There we go. And you will notice that the white, as we mix that into the blue already on the canvas and that paint is still wet, it's going to mix together. And this is called wet on wet blending. So you will notice, like I said earlier, just how quickly your lighter colors get eaten up by the other colors when you do this. So you can be rather generous with the amount of pigment that you put in there. So now we're moving down to a smaller brush and light gray paint. We're going to fill in that mountain. And again, going right up to those traceable lines, painting right on top of them. And then we're going to move into some darker grays for the shadows on the mountains, and then some white and lighter grays for the snow cap of our mountain. Again, full permission if you want a purple mountain, if you want a brown mountain. Anything you want to do to switch out colors, go for it. All right, so now adding just a little bit more black to our gray mixture, going 1 or 2 shades darker than what you have on your canvas. And again, just mimicking the place and the shape where you see me put this color. Then right now I'm using actually light pressure to blend this darker gray into the lighter gray. All right, and going just a touch darker, there we go. And intensifying the shadow. And by having a shadow value and then our medium color and then our highlight, this is what creates the illusion on a flat surface. And this is what makes you a magician as you paint. All right, so now we actually grabbed the white paint, pure white paint. We're going right on top of the cap of the mountain, filling that in. And then we'll come back and we'll add a little bit of light gray shadows. All right, first we're going to go back to the white while the brush is clean and go back to our bottom. I want that tip of that mountain where the snow cap is and the reflection to just be a little bit more intense. And my paint at the bottom is still wet, so there's a little bit of blending happening. If yours happens to be dry, you can do like I'm doing right here and make your light blue again if you need to adjust any of the blending. And now we're making that light blue and using these kind of long horizontal lines, kind of making this look more like water, and that we've got ripples in the water while we have this reflection happening. All right, so here, grabbing a bit of the darker blue, or the straight blue, and again, keeping with those horizontal back and forth brush strokes. I want you can allow some space in between the brush strokes, but this is what's giving that illusion of ripples on the water. And we will be doing this towards the bottom of the canvas in a minute as well. Now, as you do this, I do recommend that you prop your painting up, get out of your chair, and look at your painting from a distance of 5 to 10 feet away so you can see how this illusion is kind of transpiring from that distance. And as you look at it from that distance, maybe you go, oh, I need a little more blue here, I need a little bit more white here. Trust that. And then when you go back to your painting, add what you saw from the distance, or add what you saw was needed from that distance. All right, so here I'm actually just going back in with that light blue, making a bit more of those water ripple lines. This does not have to be perfect. I do want some of those lines going off the edges of the canvas, and that gives the illusion that the image is bigger than what was captured and painted on the canvas. And you can go back and forth between all shades of blue and white. The straight blue, the straight white, or your shades of blue in between. All right, doing good. And if you are holding your breath, remember to breathe, relax. It's not the end of the world. And hopefully you are enjoying the process. So going back and adding one more layer to be a little bit thicker on top of our snow caps, and then getting a little bit more controlled with those little fingers of the snow coming down off the caps in the little canyons and valleys and hills on the mountain. And you can kind of see where I turn the brush. I'm keeping the painting in the same orientation to make it easier for you guys at home to watch, but if you need to turn your canvas upside down, go right ahead and do that. And I am being very generous with the amount of white paint that I'm applying, so that way it is a bit more opaque. All right, then kind of smoothing it out, and then now we're going to make a really light gray. It may not be super obvious to some of you at home. Hopefully your TV or computer can show it correctly. But I'm adding a little bit of light gray into that white we just applied for the caps of the mountain, just to give a little bit of depth on there. There we go. I made it a little bit darker, so hopefully you can see it a little bit better. Again, trust your instincts. If you want to put a shadow somewhere, I do not put a shadow. All right, it's looking like a good mountain. And then going a little bit darker gray, we're going to go, there we go, just kind of on the edge. I just wanted to intensify that shadow on the rest of the mountain as well. There we go, on that right-hand side. And I did paint this rather quickly, so my paint is still wet. So like I said earlier, if you're painting a bit on the slower side, totally okay. And just embrace wherever you might be at in your painting process. All right, so we're moving into the green. We're going to get a little bit of a tree line at the base of that mountain. And I'm literally just using that direct green, making little dots, overlapping dots to give the illusion that we have foliage there at the waterline of the mountain. Does not have to be perfect. You can think about them as blobs, and blobs are pretty easy to paint. All right, so a good place to pause your video, take your progress photo. You do want to let this fully dry before you move into putting your tree branches on here, because you don't want to pick up any of the paint from underneath. And you can put as many tree branches or as few as you want on here. And you do not have to make them to the extent that I make them. Like, I actually fill up a good portion. So maybe watch this whole thing first, see how big the trees are and how much I cover. And if you want to do less or more on yours, go ahead and make that adjustment. So first, for those tree branches, kind of getting the thicker branch on first, and then getting the skinnier branches with smaller marks as they come off that larger main branch. Again, trust your instincts as you go through this process, and kind of think about how you might want the branches to kind of frame the mountain or frame your painting. And if you make a mistake, you get something, a branch somewhere where you didn't plan on putting it, just embrace it and realize that nature never does exactly what we want it to, but it is still beautiful in its own right. All right, and as you get into those smaller branches, light pressure with your brush will create a bit of a skinnier line. And then a little bit of brush maintenance. If you realize that your lines just keep getting bigger and bigger, take a look at your brush. And if you have a lot of buildup of paint on your paintbrush, go ahead, clean it out, wipe it off, and that kind of brings your bristles back together, and then grab more paint and start again. All right, so pause the video, take your progress photo. Again, let this fully dry before you move into doing your cherry blossom blobs and dots. All right, so we're going to be starting with that middle flat brush, a light pink, which is white with a tiny amount of red, and you will notice a little bit of red goes a long way. And as you can see, these are literally just dots. They can be big dots, little dots. You could actually get a little more controlled and draw the shape of a cherry blossom. That is fully up to you. But if you're one of my first time painters, thinking of these as blobs will just kind of help your process, and just have fun. And remember the distance thing I talked about earlier. So get out of your chair, look at it from a distance. Do you need more flowers in one area? You can't really take them off once you've put them on there, but just kind of assess what it looks like from a distance. So now going in with a medium pink, same mark making, going right on top of some of the light pink, overlapping them, filling in. And I like to think of this as like the height of the bloom. So I have quite a few cherry blossom blooms on here. If you want yours to be a little bit more in the winter or a different season, you can adjust that as needed. You can also switch out colors. If you prefer fall colors, you could do your yellow, orange, and red. Again, your call, your creative time. Do what you are inclined to do. The most important thing about today's painting is the fact that you are physically going through the process of painting. All right, and our last thing, grabbing a little bit of that white and being rather generous with the amount of white since that pink is still wet, and going back and grabbing more blobs of white and adding highlights on there to your liking. So thank you guys so much again for hanging out and painting and getting creative. Don't wait too long to do your next painting. And until then, cheers.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the process of painting, and I hope you are happy with how your paintings turned out. I'm really proud of you for getting creative. As you're uploading these to social media, please tag me at or hashtag paintwithlovejoy, or email me your pictures, paintwithlovejoy@gmail.com. I really enjoy seeing them. I try to post them on social media to encourage other beginner painters to try the process of painting. But please share this with your community as well. Anybody who is kind of scared to paint, share your experience with them and let them know kind of how much you benefited from it and how much you enjoyed the process. So kind of share the fun. With that being said, if you have any comments, questions, feedback, things that you want me to paint in the future, please leave a comment. I try to respond to everybody as quickly as I can. And any of the future suggestions for paintings, I add that to my production list and get to them as quickly as I can. So in the meantime, please keep getting creative. Let me know how you're doing. And until next time, cheers.